taken into consideration. This guide, this isn't really a guide. This is just an add-on that should make things easier for new monks and monks that are kind of hitting a wall. But once you get up into the more advanced stuff, you're going to actually have to start paying attention to your stat weights and itemization and all that crap. And I mean, this isn't going to give you the end-all be-all of what abilities to hit and which abilities to use. Sorry, I don't know why I'm burping, but I fucking am. Anyway, yeah, like, it's gonna get you a good idea of where to be, but it's not gonna always be correct. So just remember it's a guideline before going into it. And yeah, so we'll start breaking things down. So the primary icon in the center is gonna show us our main rotation, which abilities we need to be using. As we use the abilities, it's going to have this global cooldown spiraling around to roll over into which spells we need to use next. You'll see on the side here, there's a Keg Smash icon and now Breath of Fire, and as they come off cooldown, the icon is actually very visible, and then it becomes slightly translucent once to indicate that it's off cooldown. Basically, that's just to make sure that you never miss a beat with those two spells, because they are something you want to try and aim for really high uptime for. So above that, we've got our 3 brews. As you use those, they fall off cooldown, and the rotation thing slowly indicates they're coming off cooldown. Just below that, we've got our main cooldowns: Iron Skin, Brew, or sorry, Fortifying, Zen Med, our Expel Harm with the different healing charges. And if we come over here, this icon will show our stagger. Currently it's 0% of our total health, but once it gets up to 1, it's going to indicate that over the course of 10 seconds we will stagger off 1% of our total life worth of damage. Beside that is our healing elixirs. And on the left and right we've got our artifact weapon and our Black Ox Brew. So, break things down a little further. We have a utility icon rotation and an interrupt icon rotation. The interrupt icon rotation is going to show difference depending on whether someone's casting something interruptible or not interruptible, which spell to use, whether we're in range or not. And then ultimately at the end, if we have everything on cooldown, no other answers, it will just show the actual cooldown of the spell. So this is our defensive rotation thing. It's not going to always line up with the main rotation one, because it's kind of meant as a like a safety net. So in a situation where you have very high stagger and you want to clear that stagger, but this is telling you to Iron Skin Brew, this guy's going to tell you to clear stagger. So you got a good idea of maybe I shouldn't do this, and this will give you some reassurance. But if they both line up, chances are you want to use them. It does have our movement abilities too. We're out of range of this guy, but a roll will put us back into range. And because these are lower level, kind of just go to a training ground scenario that I got queued up already in combat. And it will put it to use on the first couple of waves, just so you can see how it all comes together. Assuming I can get in there. Holy. There we go. So one thing I want to stress while we're waiting for this to queue up is that I don't stream professionally or anything. I kind of just do this shit for fun, to be totally honest. So there's probably some chop, there's probably some lag. I mean, maybe the audio isn't totally right, but hey, no one else is making Brewmaster videos, so I'm all you got. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I'm just doing this because people wanted to see it. Anyway. So just following through my rotation here, on the right of the screen there's an add-on called True-Fi Global Cooldown. It shows you the ability you last used. It's really handy for Windwalker, but it also helps for people to see what I'm doing because my UI has it all hidden on you. So basically going through our different rotations, you'll see popping up with the suggested purifies once we reach certain stagger breakpoints, or once our health reaches certain levels. It's going to actually tell us, based on our brew charges and the health, what defensive we should use. So see here, once we get up to 3, it's going to tell us to Keg Smash, or sorry, to Iron Skin Brew again, because you don't want to ever sit at a 3 charge. But if we ever fall below a certain threshold, it's going to recognize that, hey, shit's going to hell real quick, you should probably use some of your stuff and burn some of your active mitigation. Yeah, so all that aside, I'm not actually doing these pulls as intended. You should be kiting these, but I want to show off how the rotation guide all comes together. Tell me when. Get that guy, clear this, clear that. Now it wants us to Black Ox, get back to full. Now a lot of people like to hover at 35% health and just abuse obstinate determination. That's cool, but I mean, healers are going to hate you for it. So what this is actually doing is it's going to tell you to expel harm when you have 2 charges and you're above 50% health. Once you are below 50%, it's actually going to get you to sit on those expel harms until you reach that 35% point, because at that point you should launch yourself back to full health with all the ones you've pulled up. So you notice there my interrupt bar showed up, so we can do that. And now when this guy casts again, it's going to show our next one. Yeah, there it is. I want this to last a little longer, so I'm going to help save her. Now leg sweep's popping up here because he's casting something that I can interrupt, but I don't have anything else available. And if you were to cast again, this guy might be, oh, it's off cooldown. It would show paralysis, but didn't get a chance to do it. So that's pretty much it. We're going to quickly die here. One thing that's also kind of cool, I'm trying really hard. Alright, well, I'll just yield. If you fall below the 35% threshold and you have no healing spheres available, it'll tell you to use Fortifying Brew, because Fortifying Brew will give you that extra 20% health and it'll put you back above the threshold to start proccing your obstinate determinations again, which is pretty nice. So if you guys ever want to dissect this thing, because I mean, my UI, it's gross, I understand that, but it's what works for me, so it's what I use. If you want to break things down and take what you want from this, here is the beer guide. The columns are organized by Iron Skin Brew, and then our Purifying Brews for group content, and Purifying Brews for raid content. And if we go into the actual conditions here, we can see this line of code, which indicates that when our stagger exceeds our maximum health by this percentage, if everything else is met, it's going to tell us to Purifying Brew. So if you don't like the idea that you want to float at 40% for this to be used, and you want to instead make it float at 10%, not 70, 10, then it's going to know that when you're at 3 charges and you have 10% Purifying Brew to use this. But I don't like that. This is what's worked for me, so this is how I use it. But as you can see, this is our 3 stacks, here's our 1 stack, and this is our 2 stack for our charges of beer. And as we go to the lower levels, the demand for stagger, or requirement of stagger, actually changes. And in our raid setting, it's actually held up to a little higher as well, because we have more healers on us. And more healers means more Celestial Fortune crits, and it's just really nice. Anyway, so that's pretty much sums up the Brewmaster TellMeWhen profile. Once again, I mean, it's not going to the end all to be all of your rotation, but if you have no idea how to play, and you do want to play, and you don't want to get kicked out of groups for being bad or anything like that, this will at least get you started in the right direction. But eventually you're going to have to start thinking for yourself and thinking on the fly, but in the meantime, this will get you pretty far.